of Gaza Strip. Believing we're all created to complete each other, we have launched the biggest student youth charity campaign at the level of all medical schools in Gaza for fundraising to be ready for presenting a charitable food card, Rahma, Mercy. Our scheme was built on inaugurating the biggest fundraising and aiding campaign in which students and physicians working in the field of health, along with the local and international organizations, the civil society are concerned to help obtain the highest possible rate of support and assistance for the project. We were hopeful the campaign would cover the highest potential number of families living under the line of poverty based on statistical information being extracted from the working committees of Zakah charity, following the order from the Ministry of Awqaf based on each city. The credibility would therefore be assured in selecting those who are truly in need of such assistance. The food cart includes essential food materials for the lacking families, with a total value of 100 new Israeli shekels for each one separately. Students would be those supervising the stages of starting off, packaging, and distribution. We're more than glad to invite you to see the pride of putting tens of smiles in the faces of those whose life has been more unfair to. The first stage has already begun in middle area, Gaza. This comes as a short tribute of stories told from the families visited by the medical student volunteers. This man was telling a story of a long struggle with diseases his son and daughter were fighting against. One of his daughters, he said, was born with a spacious cyst, and more desperately the other son has lost his hair a couple of years ago, and also had a damaged eye, to which the family had to go more into, which can be truly described a crisis, to put up with all the treatment costs they're forced to pay for the sake of their son. Our student confirmed to him that this is a test, for which he shall be rewarded, and took his mobile number and promised they'll do everything they can so that even if little of his hardship can be reduced. The man also added they are provided with support from the Ministry of Social Affairs, but that was never sufficient. This man was a merchant since 1982 and has gone bankrupt in 2007. His daughter dropped from school after the completion of a year and a half of her university education because he could not afford the tuitions. His other son also has a similar story but was not lucky enough to even enroll in one. What I personally could find about this guy is he was too embarrassed about sharing his own story with us, despite the fact he was enlisted to be from those being under the line of poverty. His few words were, "I live alone, I have got 10 children, most of them are females." And when asked about his previous occupation, he said he worked in plastic. Maybe it wasn't about the embarrassment, maybe he believed these particular words, lawns, 10 children, were a pretty big commitment and a pretty big burden to live up with, too. 10 members are living in a 2-room house. That's what this man said when he described his economic status. When I was busy taking some photos, I could feel there is something wrong about this guy. When further questioned, he said he's a hemolytic anemia patient. He's on a lot of medication for a long time. A friend of mine has agreed with me that that man was in a notable difficulty to express himself. One and only one question remained in my head. How can a man with such case, 10 children he must raise, and no job, be not assisted with whoever would think there's a chance for the human race to survive? Allah shall witness what I say. I must be honest, this man is a true inspiration, with the full sense of the word. He has a similar 10 children story, ain't special, right? I forgot to count how many times he used the phrase Alhamdulillah, which is the Arabic meaning for praise be to Allah, but I'm sure it was multiple. This man was merchant working in a clothes shop, and as he began to mention the story behind the qualification, and later the part in which he has undergone 5 surgical operations on his name, said, I don't know how it was all set to happen, but my friend Yahya asked me to join him to somewhere on his motorcycle, and eventually we crashed into a trunk. To, as I knew from my relatives, put an end to Yahya's life, and my life was as at stake in that time. I don't remember anything after the collision, not a single sequence. I spent almost 3 months in the hospital to thankfully and gratefully recover from a coma. My skull was injured in the accident. I had totally lost the ability to walk. Just after I made one of the surgical operations on my knee, I had little of it back. Alhamdulillah, I have a patient record in hospital that you can imagine it's for everyone. Truly, all the crew working in the neurology department was shocked to their feet how I could survive. But here I am. And later in the conversation, he strongly said, I didn't know what else would happen to me. And he laughed.